Hey YouTube. I was in the market looking for larger bikes for my kids, and I realized there aren't many videos out there explaining size differences, especially with these older Hondas around year 2000. There are many options, different sizes. I think now you buy a new one, you gotta go from the 50 to the 110 to maybe a 150 from there, but back mid 2000s, back probably to the 80s, Honda made several different sizes of the CRF slash XR bikes. Um, and we were at the point where these first two here, we have a 50 and a 70, were too small for my boys, and went shopping and decided to trade in for the 80 and 100. I tried to do a video of seat height differences, and it was really hard to show. I'm not sure if I'm going to include it in this video. If I do, maybe I'll just speed it up and post the sizes on there. I think it would be helpful to determine which bike your kid should have. Let me try to get a front view here. You can see kind of the seat heights as they go up here. There is a difference between them all. Power wise, there's a hot, I don't know. I think for the bike size, the engines are sized right. I don't know if you'll see a significant power or speed increase. The 80 and 100 over there do have the 5-speed transmissions on them, so it's probably geared a little different. But they do way more, but the bigger engines may compensate for that. So I don't know if there's going to be a speed difference on them, but it'll obviously have more power to handle the weight of your growing kid on them. Where this 50 here, I had my most recently 4.5 foot tall 8-year-old was still riding this bike, and seeing him on it, he did look real awkward, but it was still enough bike for him, and he was able to easily ride it and get around. But he was too big for. I'm not saying have your 8-year-old hop on a 50. I'm saying if they need to, he was able to handle it. Getting past there, it gets dangerous. I know I can't ride it. I'm about 5'9", 5'10". My knees hit the handlebars, and it's real dangerous. Smallest bike I would be comfortable hopping on and riding is a 70, and that's without handlebar mods or other people. There seems to be a following of guys hopping on these, grown adults hopping on these for pit bikes and just raising the handlebars to make them fit. But the 70 I can comfortably ride. Obviously, the bigger they get, the more comfortable I feel on them. And I believe this 100 over here, for now, my experience of riding, I didn't ride as a kid. I started riding when my boys did. This 100 right now it's a fun bike. So I did want to cover some other differences other than height. Like I said, I'll try to get that seat height, or maybe I'll show the video. Hopefully that could be more helpful than when I watch the video back. Just seemed like a waste of time, but I'll see what I can do to get that information over. Maybe I'll put it in the comments, or we'll see. We'll see when I go to post this video. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see this on the 50. It's really hard to show, but it's about 21 inches from the ground. I'm trying to hold it level. Move over to the 70. This is about 25 and a half, maybe 3/4 off the ground. I don't know, between 25 and a half and 26. That CRF 70 was a 2004, and that's the same year as the 80 here. Seat height on this, it looks about 28 and a half. And at last, the 1998 XR100. It's uh, this will be about 30, 29 and a half, probably about 29 3/4 to 30 inches off the ground, and this is from the lowest point in the front. But 50 and 70 are the bikes to start out with. I actually start out the 70. My youngest, he's 8 now. I think he was 4 going on 5 when we realized he's not really into sports. Wasn't really much to get him into, but he was good at driving. He always liked driving go-karts and machinery. So we made the jump from the Power Wheels, and we're looking for a 50. Market was pretty stretched thin at the time, but the 70 was available, and I made the assumption the 50 and 70 were the same size bike with a different engine on them. But we got the 70 off a friend, saw it was too big, but I got it for a great price, and decided to go for it. We had a bow on it, kind of a surprise gift for my kid on his birthday. When he got it, he loved it, but then he went to hop on it and couldn't even touch the ground. And this was his first dirt bike, so it was kind of hard to teach him to learn to ride and shift at 4 or 5 years old on a bike that's too big for him. So my oldest, who was 2 years older at the time, ended up being a good size for him. So he picked up on it and really liked the bike. So at that point we knew we'd have to give him each one. So we kept the 70, went out looking for a 50, found this 50, and it ended up being perfect for both my boys and their sizes. And that worked for about two and a half years. Till, like I said, my 10-year-old is just broke 5 feet, and my 8-year-old is about 4.5 feet, so pretty tall. So the plan was then to upgrade my 8-year-old to the 70 and look for a bike for my 10-year-old, and asked around, and somebody sent me a link for this 80 that was for sale. So I got all excited because it is a size upgrade, a few inches bigger. Does have, starting with the 80s, they do have the 5-speed with the clutch, where the 70 and 50 have the 3 speeds without the clutch, without the manual clutch, rather. So it is kind of a learning experience, but went on some blogs, looked up. There's actually quite a few articles of people that had a 70 and wanted to upgrade, and we're looking at sizes, and everybody said, the 80 is probably the right size now, but don't even mess around, just go for a 100. And the more I looked, it seems like that was the right choice. So ended up going out and getting this 100. It's an XR 100 from 1998. You can see that's bike looks a little older, but essentially the same bike. I'm told from the XRs to the CFRs, the only thing really changed was some bodywork and plastics. Essentially the same bike. So if you're out there looking, could get a deal on an XR 80, 100, 70, 50, whatever, and don't mind the way it looks. Not going to be putting it in shows or anything. You might be able to save some money with them rather than going out and buying somebody's 2-year-old CRF 50. So we went looking for this 100, and my youngest, you know how kids are, one gets something, the other wants something, even though we tried to explain to him that this CRF 70 that was his brother's would now be his. He was sad that his brother was going to have a clutch. Imagine that. And he wanted one too. So out by the 100 was this CRF 70. I asked the guy, like, hey, bought another 100, but do you mind if we stop by and let my kid my younger one hop on the CRF 70? If it's not too big, we'll buy yours too. So that's what we did. And they're actually decent sizes. I don't think either kid can flat foot on both sides, but they can tippy toe one and flat foot the other on these, and can start them. They're still learning how to do the clutch. It's been a learning curve. We've only had these for a few days. So with the trade on these, now the 50 and 70 are being sold. I'm not sure how much longer I'll have these. Just posted the listing. We'll see how quick they go. hate to see them leave because these are great bikes. Um, so yeah, if you're out there looking, maybe your kid is like a lot of kids and 4 or 5 years old, maybe even 3, depending on personalities. These 50s are amazing. Yamaha does make a PW50 that's got an electric start on it and no gears and automatic transmission. I opted to go away from that because I felt if my kid's going to be learning to ride a dirt bike, he should learn to shift on it. And I think it helped them now make the transition to a clutch because they're not learning to do two things. They know when to shift, and all they got to do is use the clutch. Um, so I opted to go from the PW50. And the Yamaha does make a TTR50 that's very similar to this. I believe it's still a 3-speed. And has the electric start on it as well. But I wanted to go with the kickstart also because if their battery dies and somebody's not around, they could start it back up. And this 50, my kid was more than capable of starting this 50 up, kickstarting it. And it's real easy. If they're a little bigger, like I said, my oldest would have been too big for this 50 from the start, but the 70 was enough to hold him over from like 8 to 10. And even now he could ride. It wasn't like dangerous. And had my youngest not really needed to upgrade from the 50, my oldest probably still would have the 70. So he probably maybe could have got another year out of it. So if your kids are starting out, it helps to have a smaller, lighter bike, I think. Especially if you can get the 70, it's going to be the larger size, but without the clutch if your kid's starting out. Once you upgrade to the 80 and 100s, then like I said before, it's got the 5-speed with the clutch in it, so it's going to add that curve, and it's considerably bigger, more weight. Differences between CFR and XR. So I don't have any of the newer CFRs. The newest one I got is this 50, and it's a 2007, and the only differences I can see between the two are the way these rear plastics attach. There's no bolt on these where they had it in the 2004s. So these two bikes here are 2004s, and you can see the bolts there where the 50 does not. So maybe a little bit pattern, but the plastics look pretty much the same from 2004 to 2007. Like I said, I've never had a newer bike than 07, so I don't know if they made major changes there. But as far as everything else looks very similar on the 50 and 70. And then you move into a different group with the 80 and 100s. Just bigger bike, different design. But between the 80 and 100, they're very similar as well. This is a good thing to see. This is a 1998 XR100. And they said about seats and plastic changing. You can see the seat does look considerably older than the 2004 next to it, and then the gas tank is just painted. There's no plastics on it like on the 2004. But ride-wise, that XR100 is a great bike. I think I'll keep it even if my kids grow out of it. It's fun. Even I could even get on this 80 and putz around. They're just really awesome bikes. Differences between the 80 and 100, not really much. I believe they might have the same frame essentially, with maybe a mount to hold a bigger tire, but the biggest differences are tire sizes. I won't be able to see if I can zoom in here and see. So that's got a 16-inch front tire, where the 100 has the 100, finally found it. Sorry about that. The 100 has a 19-inch front tire, so 16 to a 19 on the fronts. And then it goes from a 14 to a 16 on the rear. So 3-inch bigger tire on the 100 in the front, 2-inch bigger tire on the rear. So that gives you definitely more height, raising the seat height on there. where if you go down to the 70s and 100s, these are just different frames. Just it's a different bike, but you got the real little tires on the 50. I can't even see a size there. Where you got a 12-inch on the rear of the 70, and I believe it's a 16 on the front because I just had to change. Sorry, it's a 14. 14 on the front. So 12 on the rear, 14 on the front. And on the 70, and then on the 80, it's the 16 front, 14 rear. So coming from the 70 up, the 70 has the 12 rear, 14 front. The 80 has the 14 rear, 16 front, and the 100 has the 16 rear, 19 front. So essentially with these three bike sizes, you're swapping the rear tires on them are the same size as the front tire. So that'll give you an idea too of difference in heights. Not really sure if there's a formula. What I went by for my kids, if they could at least hold the bike up. I want them to grow. I don't enjoy shopping for dirt bikes. I don't really enjoy shopping for anything or selling things. So I don't want to do it often. So I recommend some growing room in them as long as you're comfortable with riding them. At this point, they're only going to get bigger. I think that's all I got on these. I do know oil capacities. I just changed the oil in all of them. Both the 50 and the 70 down here both take about half a quart of oil, and the 80 and 100 both take about a quart. So I was able to change all four of these with 3 quarts of oil. So I just went down to the Honda dealership that was nearby, and I think it was like $30 for a gallon, and that was enough. Also, air filters. Both the 80 and 100 took a liner type filter that goes around a canister. Much easier to change, by the way, on the 80 and 100. They have a little box on the side here that pops open and you can get to the cartridge, where on the 70 and 50, see if I can show you, it's up behind the carburetor. You gotta loosen up a screw and pull that air housing out of there, and inside the air housing is just it's like a circle piece of foam that goes in there. Not super complicated, but it's much easier on the 8100s to change them. I think that's all I got. These bikes are great if you're watching this video because you're thinking about getting a Honda. I can't speak for any other colors. The Suzukis or Yamahas, these Hondas have been awesome. Even this 100, it doesn't look that great. I got a great deal on it. Kid was selling it. It runs, it shifts amazing. From 1998. That's incredible that there's something like that. Like, you can look at these, like, there's no rust. Plastics are still on there, they're not cracked. I'm just amazed by the quality of something that's that old can still look this good at this time. And I might clean it up and get some decals or something to make it look better, but like these Honda bikes are great. The 50, my kid, like I said, I don't know if it was unique to this one. The carburetor on it, you never had to use choke. He'd kick it, start up in a few starts, and it would just sit there and idle. The 70, definitely had to use the choke, and it would take about a lap or two around until it got warm enough that it wanted to idle. But once it did it, it would run. Once again, that could be just my experience. I don't know if that's regular, but it worked out for me because my older one was able to handle the lap before it got warmed up. But once it did, like I said, it'd sit and idle. I don't think there's anything else. If I get this video on in time and anybody's watching it has some questions, feel free to let me know. And as long as I have the bikes here, I'll have the 80 and 100 for a while. Like I said, I just posted the 50 and 70. If they don't sell, I could come out and take some more measurements. If that's what you would, if there's something I didn't answer for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and